Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. I'm continuing my series on the monsters of Mystara from the Monstrous Compendium Appendix from 1994 from TSR for the second edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's a very roundabout way of getting around to the Mystara setting, but it is where TSR was at this time. And they were like, hey, we got this Mystara setting. We should make it a second edition setting for it, like they made so many others. And it's one of the lesser known ones, honestly, by itself. Like as a D&D product, that 13 Gazetteer book line plus the couple box sets, and that it's in the cyclopedia, right? Uh, Mystara and the known world, but it's the TSR decided, but it's one of the lesser known ones, like Birthright, right? Um, Not like Dark Sun or Ravenloft or Spelljammer, right? But heck, there's one that was like on an island. I barely remember the name of it without having to look it up. And that's just like without going to Forgotten Realms, of course, um, or Greyhawk or Dragonlance, right? Which also existed, and of course they needed their own second edition editions. But I'm off on a huge tangent, and you're here for monsters. So B is apparently for Bargda. While I have the PDF on the screen and we're on page 12, I am actually reading from my physical copy I have here in my hands. So if there is any variation from what you see on the screen, that is because the PDF has been adjusted in some way. I don't know if that is actually going to happen, but if it does, that is what happens. If you notice anything like that, please point it out. It's also the possibility of me just misreading something, admittedly. I am a fallible human being, and I will endeavor to do my best. But as you can see, the Bargda, at first glance, is some kind of goat creature, right? It's got hooves. It's got that weird backward bent there on the at the bottom, right? It's like standing on its toes. It's got goat horns and goat eyes and goat head, right? Also, it's got a big old club. Maybe it's like a minotaur, but goat. You know, I'm not intimately familiar with all these creatures. I'm going to point that out. Um, when I'm trying to work up something and I'm seeking inspiration, you pull the book off a shelf and you go and have a look around, right? This is interesting, right? Let's read it. Bargda. Climate/terrain. That's any subterranean or wilderness. Frequency rare. Organization, they are solitary. They have a night activity cycle. Their diet is omnivore. So you would say omnivorous, right? They are of average intelligence. Treasure type O and R in their layer, but they carry D on them. Okay. Alignment chaotic evil. So for D&D that'd be just simply chaotic. Number appearing 1d4, armor class 4, movement 12, hit dice 12. So you roll 12d8 for the hit points. So that's going to be 12 to 96 hit points. Its to hit AC 0 is 9 on a d20. It gets 2 attacks. The attacks are 4d4 by club or 1d10 with its bite. So that's a nasty club strike. That's 4 to 16 points of damage. When a really well-to-do and powerful fighter will have about 120 hit points maximum. And that's like, somewhere above like ninth level, right? With a good constitution. Like if they got full constitution bonus of 3 points per level, that's 27 right there because you stop getting those after level 9. And you're rolling a d8, so that's 98 plus 27. Yeah, I may have actually overestimated 120, but you do get like a couple hit points per level. So, like, if you happen to be like for every level after that, you don't get your Constitution adjustment, unfortunately. But you know, um, 15th level fighter, I could see have 120 hit points. So, this is a 12 hit die monster, so uh, the bite is diseased. That's great. Special defenses are hideousness. The magic resistance is it has none. It is size large, so like it's 9 foot tall. So if you have size adjustments for your character class, like with the halfling, that comes into play. Its morale is champion, so 16. Basically, it's not going to break morale unless there's a penalty. XP value is 4,000. Wow. Though the link is weak, Bargdas are related to Minotaurs. Yeah, they do seem like it. Bargdas are stronger and far more disgusting, however, for they have been cursed with a horrible putrefying disease. Their bent and twisted bodies stand an impressive 9 feet tall, and they have distorted ram heads with sickly green eyes. I guess we got that going on here. You don't get the scale of it from the picture, right? But if it wasn't all hunched over, I imagine it would be even bigger than 9 feet. While Bargdas may speak common, 50% chance, the words are often so slurred and garbled that only other Bargdas can understand them. So it goes, Rambo-ish. So, whatever you like. Um, Combat. So hideous is this creature that humans and demi-humans viewing it must make a saving throw versus spell or suffer a -2 penalty to both attack and damage rolls. Wow, that's like the troglodyte stench. Um, a Bargda attack with a large iron-shod wooden club, with which it inflicts 44 points of damage, and with its vicious bite, victims of this bite suffer not only 1d10 points of damage, but must also make a saving throw versus poison or be stricken with a debilitating disease. The disease affects reflexes, slowing victims and causing them to lose initiative automatically in every round until the disease is cured. In addition, the disease results in the loss of 1 point of dexterity per hour to a minimum dexterity of 3. A cures disease spell negates the effects of the disease, with lost dexterity points returning at a rate of 1 point per day. So yeah, that'll put you out of action for a while. Nasty. Habitat Society. Bargdas live in dark, dismal caves, emerging only to raid isolated settlements. They dwell either singly or in small groups, which include either a mated pair or a small family. A female gives birth to a litter of 4 to 8 about every 2 years. Wow, okay. Offspring are born with the Bargda's disease. Oh. Only the hardiest youngsters survive, and even fewer live long enough to propagate the species. Most offspring die before they learn to walk. Young Bargdas stay with the family until about the age of 15. Bargdas hate all living creatures except ogres, trolls, and hill giants, which they dominate and force to do their bidding. Okay, I can see that as a hook, right? Often Bargdas lead these creatures on raids against human and demi-human settlements. Any encounter with Bargdas in settled lands is 90% likely to include 2d12 ogres, trolls, or hill giants. The DM can select one of the three at random, or make the raiding party a mix of them all. Treasure is valued by Bargdas and hoarded avariciously. They not only regard it as a symbol of prestige and power, it shows how many successful raids a Bargda has led, but they also recognize its value in swaying other intelligent creatures. If a Bargda is threatened in its lair, and the battle seems hopeless, it may bargain with its treasure to escape with its life. Bargdas are smart enough to hide their treasure well. Ecology. These creatures are omnivores, eating anything from fungi to furry mammals. They cannot digest most food in its natural state, however. Whether plant or animal, the food must first be infected with a special enzyme. It is no coincidence that this enzyme is produced by the very microorganism causing the disease Bargdas pass on to their victims. Okay. In short, Bargdas infect a would-be diner with this microbe, much like, a would-be dinner, not diner. Sorry, basic mistake. With this microbe, much like a cook marinating a tough cut of meat. If they kill a foe but fail to pass on the disease during battle, Bargdas bite and lick the dead corpse to cover it with the germ. Then the body is set aside, allowing the germ to multiply. Later, the body is set aside, allowing the germ. I skip back. Sorry. Later, the Bargdas feast. This habit fills the Bargdas lair with putrescent, ripening food. On a less disgusting note, Bargdas may lick decaying plant stalks when the larder of corpses run low, also setting the plants aside to ripen. The disease carried by Bargdas sustains them, but it also takes its toll. Eventually it wears them down, weakening the mighty humanoids as they approach the age of 40 or 50 years. As a Bargda's own reflexes are worn away by a disease, its days are numbered. Soon a younger Bargda or resentful humanoid underlings will kill the weakened monster. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, if you need something different and to throw at the party and maybe lead some raids, or lead like a hill Badlands encounter, sounds like a useful thing. Of course, you can always throw it into a dungeon or a labyrinth of some type, but yeah, certainly not for your starting out party. But I expect a lot of things in here are not. Let us move to the next page, page 13, where we have, and I know you see the name there, and I know the word that immediately comes to mind, but I gotta tell you, it is not that. That is a Bhut. Yes, that's right. It's a Bhut. And that dressed up gremlin, I'm going to call it, with ginger hair, is a Bhut. And let's get into it. Climate, terrain, any settled. Frequency, very rare. They are organized into clans. They are active at night. Their diet is carnivore. Their intelligence is very. They are very intelligent, which is an 11 to 12 if we were statting it. Treasure, M in their lair, and D on the monster. They are lawful evil. 2 to 4 appear. That's 2d4. Armor class 4, movement 12, hit dice 7 plus 2, so you roll 78 and add 2. To hit AC 0 is 13. They get 3 attacks. Damage would be a D4 claw, a D4 claw, and a D6 bite. The special attack is that the bite is numbing. They have a special defense listed below. They have no magic defense. They are size medium, apparently 6 feet tall. Their morale is elite, so it's a 13. Unless there's a penalty involved, they won't break morale. They are 1,400 XP each. During the day, Bhuts, as it says here, it makes the pains to show us exactly that it does say Bhuts right here. Look like normal humans. At night, their skin grows scaly, their hair becomes wild, their fingers become claws, and their teeth turn into fangs. When they set out to feast on humans and demi-humans, would-be scholars sometimes classify Bhuts as undead or lycanthropes. However, Bhuts cannot be turned, and they cannot pass on their shape-changing conditions as werebeasts do. so neither fish nor fowl, as it were. Bhut speak common and their own language. There's a Bhut language? Okay. Bhuts are extremely cunning and often use deception and trickery to obtain their meals. They make no noise when moving. Further, they radiate a powerful aura that prevents detect evil spells from working on them. No alignment is distorted by the aura and indicates a lawful good alignment. Bhuts make saving throws as if they were 10th level fighters. A Bhut attacks with its claws and bite. The wound inflicted by its bite is freezing to the touch. Besides suffering normal damage, any creature bitten must make a saving throw versus paralysis or be numbed. Numbed creatures always lose initiative, and their attack rolls have -2 penalty. The numbness lasts 1d4 rounds. Though Bhuts cannot be turned, they do enjoy all the immunities of undead creatures, that is, to sleep, charm, hold, poison, and gases. They cannot be harmed by non-magical weapons, but a single hit from a blessed weapon kills one instantly. So, Bless is a second level cleric spell. You just need a 4th level cleric or better to be able to get a Bless in play. So that's an important weakness, because they got a lot of strengths so far. Habitat/society. Bhuts live near human settlements, preying upon on the inhabitants. I would have said upon. It just says on. Often the creatures work together. Normally they assume some innocent cover, monks, traveling gypsies, a family on the edge of town, etc., to lessen the suspicion. They interact with human society, at least through enough to appear normal, but are only during daylight hours. Clans are the social organization of Bhuts. Any clan may have an innocuous cover for human society, while in fact it is the Bhuts' cooperative means of getting food. Each clan is ruled by an elder, male or female. The elder makes important decisions for the group, including how to divide food and treasure. Fear and loyalty keep others in line. The elder is usually the patriarch or matriarch. All other clan members are related to the elder by blood or marriage. The elder also decides when the clan should move on to new place. Timing is important. After all, only so many disappearances can occur before someone investigates. The Bhuts' anti-detection aura provides a modicum of protection against magical inquiries, but sooner or later, circumstantial evidence will place a Bhut clan at risk. The elder also determines the identity the clan will assume in its next home. Very rarely, Bhut spellcasters are encountered. These are nearly always of the wizard or shaman/witch doctor variety. The highest level of ability known for these special Bhuts are 9th level wizard and 7th level shaman/witch doctor. Now, in 2nd edition, you can build out your magic user in a variety of different ways. And that generally, like wizard talks about like your ability to cast spells in certain types, while shaman witch doctors previously were mostly like monster spellcasters. Anyhow, use that up to yourself. Usually a shaman or a witch doctor is on the cleric line, while a wizard is, of course, on the magic user line. So that's how you'd want to provide spells in that case. An individual Bhut away from its lair has a 40% chance of carrying type Q treasure, that is 1d4 gems, in addition to the treasure noted. Ecology. A Bhut clan likes to prey upon victims who are alone and vulnerable, especially a lone traveler or wandering drunk. Such deaths are the least likely to arouse suspicion amongst the locals. Rarely do people inquire about the fate of a strange traveler, who may after all have moved on, and it is often assumed that the town drunk has found a sad and lonely demise, perhaps dying in a ditch somewhere. Bhuts can reproduce within the clan. However, females also can breed with human males, usually with the aid of some deception. The offspring are always Bhuts. Humans are the staple of Bhut's diets. Perhaps for this reason they consider demi-humans, whose societies are harder to infiltrate, especially tasty. Legend says that Bhuts came into being a long time ago when an angry immortal cursed a town that had defiled her temple. The town was destroyed, and the scattered blasphemers became Bhuts. Their chilling bite is an eternal reminder of the immortal's cold rage. Such a supernatural origin would explain the Bhut's magical powers. And, well, that gets real interesting there at the end. I could totally see this as being like some kind of like suspicious way stop and village on a trade route. Maybe they set up a little inn or a camp, right? Uh, traveling a traveling circus. But the whole supernatural immortal connection is also really kind of what sets the wheels spinning, right? You could really flesh that out into a whole thing. Now, next up is a two-pager, which is Bird. I'm going to change this to two-page for this. There we go. Get the whole spread up on the screen. We're going to be going through about 6 different birds at once. So, even though the heading just says bird, right, we're not just going to be talking about well, we're mostly not going to be talking about regular birds, because I believe the first bird is just a regular bird. But we have birds. Oh, how am I going to proceed? Well, because we have 6 stat blocks, and then we have, the actual descriptions below. I guess I'll just do them one after the other. So we'll do the first one, and I'll do the stat block, and then we'll go to the description, and then we'll go back to the stat block for the next one. So the first one is a common magpie, which are birds that exist in our real world that we live in. Right, you and me. At least if you happen to live in, well, actually, I think they're European, but I don't actually know their full range on the Earth. So, their climate terrain is any temperate, frequency common, organization solitary. Their activity cycle is during the day. They are insectivores. They are semi-intelligent, so they have like a score of 2 if you need to stat it. Treasure is C below. Alignment neutral. I mean, it is an animal, so that's going to be a true neutral, right? Not There's no neutral, right? While there's lawful good and chaotic evil, there's no neutral. It's just neutral. That's how it works for the 9-point system. Also, if you're like doing like Moldvay, if you're somehow doing Moldvay Basic, it's like a 5-point system, but still it's just neutral. Number appearing 1d6, armor class 7. Their movement is 1, but that's on the ground. When they're flying, it's 36, and they are a B class flyer. Remember when we talked about like how agile flyers can be. Their hit points, the hit dice is just literally 1 to 2 hit points. The 2-hit AC 0 is 20. I don't know why a magpie is attacking you, but it's to hit AC 0 is 20. It has no attacks. So I mean, again, the damage per attack is 1. That is 1 point of damage. It's the beak, so it's pecking at you or biting you. I guess it's a bird. I mean, birds can be kind of pinchy, or even hurty if you got like larger parrots. But no special attack, no special defense, no magic resistance. Size T. That's tiny. It's 2 feet long. Its morale is unsteady, so it's a 6. It'll easily give up or try to run away. Most likely. I mean, it's a bird. You ever try to catch a bird? They run or fly away, right? XP value 15. A wealth of birds inhabit the world of Mystara. This section offers a brief sampling from the mundane but troublesome magpie to the electrifying Sprackle. Okay, so the magpie. Magpies are notorious for stealing bright objects. Two varieties make their home in Mystara, the common and the giant. The common magpie is 14 to 18 inches long from its head to the tip of its tail. The body and tail are mostly black, often shot with metallic blue, green, and lavender. And the shoulders and belly are white. The giant magpie sports similar colors but measures 3 to 5 feet from beak to tail. So I guess we're getting a 2-for-1 on the magpie, and I'll come back to the stat block for the giant one. Combat. Common magpies fight aggressively if provoked, causing 1 point of damage with each peck. Since they are able flyers, though, it is usually easy for them to escape danger. Beak of a giant magpie inflicts 1d4 points of damage. Habitat/society. Magpies have a well-deserved reputation as thieves and may attempt to steal any shiny or brightly colored object that's unsecured. A common magpie can steal objects weighing up to 3 or 4 ounces, for example a coin, gem, or ring, while the giant magpie can manage objects up to 2 pounds, for example a piece of jewelry, a dagger, a wand, or a potion bottle. If people are nearby, a magpie may swoop down to take an object without landing, and has a 30% chance of picking it up cleanly and making off without dropping it. If the bird can land unseen, however, its overall chance of success increases to 60%. Stolen objects are taken to the bird's nest. Finding the nest in order to retrieve a lost item may be a difficult task, perhaps even perilous, if the search leads to the territories of dangerous creatures. The search may also be rewarding, however, since the nest might also contain 1d6 coins, 30%, 1d2 small gems, 3%, a piece of jewelry or art object, 3%, giant magpie only, or even a small magical item, 1%, giant magpie only. The magpie's nest is woven of sticks, straw, and mud. Magpies often weave thorny twigs into the roof of the nest to keep predators from attacking the abode. The nest is fairly large and round, with only one entrance. A typical clutch contains 5 to 6 greenish-blue or yellowish eggs. Ecology. Both common and giant magpies prefer to live in cool or temperate habitats, making their homes in woodlands, agricultural land, and even towns. Occasionally, a magpie serves as a wizard's familiar. Magpies eat insects and grain. Those dwelling in settled areas often make their nests near granaries, which offer plentiful meals of spilled grain. According to folklore and common superstition, the number of magpies one sees at a time can help foretell the future. 7 magpies are a portent of great evil. So, our next item is actually the Piranha Bird, which also has a lesser and greater, so I'm just going to move through the stat blocks for those. So, for Piranha Bird lesser and greater, it is the same as non-Arctic forest. The lesser is rare. The greater is very rare. They are organized into flocks. They are active at night. They are carnivores, but we called them piranha birds for a reason, right? They are semi-intelligent. Oh, I didn't do the magpie giant. I'm sorry. Let's back up and do that. That must be very frustrating. Magpie giant, any temperate terrain. They are rare in frequency. They are solitary. They are day active. They are insectivores. They are semi-intelligent, but up to a 4 intelligence. Treasure see below. Neutral. It's a D4 appearing. Armor class 6 instead of 7. They move 3 on the ground, but fly 33. They're slightly slower than the regular magpie, but just as maneuverable. It's 1+1 hit dice, so you roll a d8 and add 1. Thaco's 19. It gets an attack. It's D4 for the beak. Nothing special about the attack's defenses or magic resistance. Its size is small to medium, that is 3 to 5 feet long. Its morale is average at 8, and its XP value is 65. Going back to Piranha Bird, I will start that over as the only fair thing I can do with that. Piranha Bird Lesser and Greater are found in non-Arctic forest terrain. The lesser is rare. The greater is very rare. They are found in flocks. They are night active. They are carnivores. They are both semi-intelligent at a rating of 2, so like the magpie. They have no chance of treasure. They are chaotic neutral. So for an animal, that's interesting. It is not evil, but seeks mischief, I guess. We'll see what the description says. Number appearing for the lesser is 1d4 wings of 1d4 plus 2 birds. So I'm guessing that's what we call flocks, a wing, right? While the Piranha Bird greater, you get 2d6 of them appearing. The lesser has a 7 armor class. The greater has a 6 armor class. The lesser Piranha Bird and greater Piranha Bird fly at 36 movement and have class A maneuverability. So they are the most maneuverable flight type there is. The lesser has 1 to 4 hit points, so half a hit die. The greater is 2 hit die. Lesser Piranha Bird needs a 20 to hit AC 0. The greater 19. You get 1 attack per wing of lesser Piranha Bird. So like an entire flock is basically attacking you once as an entity. We're just abstracting that into, if you ever watch the birds and all those birds are like flying into the telephone booth, and really it's like one attacking out that entire group at any point, but they're just incessant, right? So you get 1 attack per greater Piranha Bird. The damage per attack on the lesser is a D4, and on the greater it's a D6. Special attack on the Piranha Bird lesser is +2 to attacks, so it has a bonus to its attack accuracy. While the greater has something called Blood Frenzy. There are no special defenses and no magic resistance. The lesser Piranha Birds are tiny and a foot long. So, smallish birds. Not tiny, not like sparrows, but like a pigeon, right? A pigeon is a bird you'll have run into, and about that size. The greater are 2.5 feet long, so like a larger parrot. The lesser's morale is average at 8. While the greater is at 10, the lesser's XP value is 15, the greater is 65. Let's read that description. This is at the bottom of page 14, and then goes to the top of page 15, and I believe that is pictured a Piranha Bird, that multicolored, toothsome, wall-eyed, fish-faced bird. Yeah. Definitely a monster, right? Piranha Bird. This vicious creature gathers in flocks that rapidly tear apart prey, much like the fish after which a piranha bird is named. Both varieties of Piranha Bird, lesser and greater, are garishly colored. Individual birds may have green, blue, red, brown, black, or occasionally purple feathers. The entire spectrum of colors is usually displayed in a single flock. Lesser Piranha Birds grow to a maximum of 1 foot long. Greater Piranha Birds, on the other hand, average over twice that length. The whistles of greater Piranha Birds are lower and more melodic than those of lesser Piranha Birds. Combat. Piranha Birds have gaping mouths full of slashing teeth. These are razor sharp, so that the bird can easily bite into the flesh and rip away a mouthful while on the wing. These creatures can fly with hummingbird-like maneuverability. They can make sudden changes in direction or even hover in midair. When one catches sight of a potential meal, it utters a high-pitched whistle, alerting the whole flock. These birds only attack warm-blooded creatures. Lesser Piranha Birds attack in groups. A flock divides itself into 1 or more attack wings of 3 to 6 individuals, 1d4 plus 2. Each wing attacks as though it were a single monster, attacking with a +2 bonus and inflicting 1d4 points of damage per hit. If a flock is reduced to fewer than 3 piranha birds, they lose their attack bonus and must make a successful morale check or scatter. The greater piranha birds, on the other hand, attack individually, each bite inflicting 1d6 points of damage. If half of their flock has been killed or incapacitated, they must pass a morale check or flee. If they pass, they go into a blood frenzy that gives them a +2 to all attacks. Right. I like this better than I like Sturges so far for like a lower level party. For something different, right? Although remember the economy of scale of the attack economy, right? 1d4 wings of birds, and there's going to be a lot of birds to kill, right? So balance that with your party members and their capabilities, I would say. Habitat/society. Piranha birds do not like bright sunlight, but may be found in warm climates, except areas barren of any shade. They live in regions of dense forest. Underground varieties have developed limited infravision, up to 30 feet. At night or on overcast or foggy days, piranha birds may fly far from their nests in search of prey. Piranha birds reproduce every spring. Every female lays 2 to 5 eggs. She warms them until hatching and then rejoins the hunt to feed the young. Piranha birds are especially voracious at this time. First the males, which must bring back enough food to the nest to feed the females, and then male and female alike as they strive to feed their offspring. A flock of piranha birds has no leader as such, but does have a pecking order that dictates which bird gets first peck of fallen prey for itself, its mate, and its young. Ecology. Piranha birds, both lesser and greater, are always hungry for fresh meat. They have no interest in treasure. In fact, they tend to avoid shiny objects. So, now we're going to do the Sprackle, and I'm going to do it right, because we're going to do both the Sprackle stat boxes, and then we're going to deal with the Sprackle description here on page 15. Sadly, no picture for the Sprackle, right? It's a completely new monster for us, but we don't actually have a picture like we have helpfully here for the Piranha Bird. But meanwhile, we do have one for a Magpie, which you could just Google. Just going to point that out. People from 30 years ago, before Google existed. Yeah, I know. Sprackle Lesser. Temperate mountains is the climate, and that's for the greater as well. Both types of Sprackle are very rare. They are organized into rooks. They are active in the day. The lesser ones are insectivores, while the greater ones are carnivores. The lesser ones are fairly dumb for the birds. They are just animal 1 intelligence, while the greater are semi-intelligent, much like many of these other birds we've been talking about. Treasure is see below. They are true neutral. 2 to 6 appear, or for either type of Sprackle. The lesser Sprackle has an armor class of 7, while the greater Sprackle has an armor class of 6. The lesser on the ground is movement 1, while the larger is 3. Flying, they are both move 36. I'm sorry, a little moment here. All right. And they have beam maneuverability. So they're not quite like hummingbirds like the piranha fish, but they are quite maneuverable. Lesser Sprackles are 1 to 4 hit points, so half hit die, while the greater Sprackle is 2 hit die. AC 20 for the to hit AC 0 is 20 on the lesser Sprackle and 19 on the greater. 1 attack, either type. The damage for the lesser Sprackle is 1d3, beak. Electricity armor penetration is the special attack. Okay. We did talk about this in the introduction briefly, I guess, about the Sprackle. On the greater, it's a d6 for the beak attack. And again, electricity armor penetration. Special defense is also electricity. They have no magic resistance. The lesser is tiny, 2 feet long, while the greater Sprackle is small, 4 feet long. So, pretty sizable for a bird like an eagle, right? We're getting to. Um, Morale for the lesser Sprackle is 8 average and 10 average for the greater. Lesser Sprackles are worth 65 XP, while the greater Sprackle is worth 175. Moving back over to page 15, the Sprackle at the bottom of the first column. These creatures look very similar to grackles, the common blackbirds from which they are descended. Okay, well, that helps. However, Sprackles are larger and colored differently. Their feathers are coppery or reddish brown. Moreover, these birds constantly shed little electrical sparks that make them glow in the dark. Their name is a blend of the words spark and grackle. There are 2 varieties of Sprackle, lesser and greater. The difference between them is simply one of size. The lesser Sprackle averages 20 inches in length, while the greater Sprackle grows as long as 4 feet. Combat. The Sprackle's beaks are very long and sharp, and can penetrate armor, giving them a +2 attack bonus against foes in plate mail, bronze or normal. Bronze plate mail is a thing in 2nd edition. Ring mail or chain mail. Ring mail is also an advanced Dungeons & Dragons armor type. Further, Sprackles can launch lightning attacks at creatures within 30 feet, 60 feet for the greater Sprackle. A small charge of electricity shoots out of their beaks, and with a successful attack roll, causes 1d3 points of damage, 1d6 for greater Sprackle. An electrical charge constantly surrounds the Sprackle. Even if not directed as a lightning blast, it still inflicts 1d3 or 1d6 for greater Sprackles points of damage upon any creature that comes into contact with it. Conductive materials such as metal swords also carry damage to the wielder. Sprackles fly directly towards their prey in combat, shooting their lightning blasts until they get within melee range. At that point, they attack with their beaks, 1d3 or 1d6 damage from the sharp beak, plus 1d3 or 1d6 electrical damage. They continue to fight until half the flock is killed or wounded, at which time they must pass a morale check or flee. All Sprackles have infravision with a range of 60 feet. Habitat/society. Sprackles are very territorial and will fiercely attack creatures larger than themselves. They avoid undead creatures and those larger than man size, but will attack other creatures to drive them out of their territory. Sprackles first appear in a place called Corin Keep in the mountains of Mystara. Powerful magic there seems to have transformed ordinary birds into these creatures. Since their creation, Sprackles have been spreading rapidly, aggressively pushing more common predatory birds out of their territories. Sprackles may be mostly commonly encountered on forested lower slopes of mountains. As the species spreads, however, they may soon be found in many other areas. A group of Sprackles is called a rook. They gather in extended families of 2 to a dozen birds, which share a large communal nesting area called a rookery. Rookeries are located in sheltered areas, such as the eaves of an abandoned building or under a rocky overhang. They are built of sticks and mud and lined with downy feathers shed by the birds. Like magpies, Sprackles are attracted to shiny objects, which may be valuable. Their nests may contain 2d6 coins, 30% chance, 1d4 small gems, 5%, 30% for the giant Sprackle, a piece of jewelry or an art object, 5% for the giant Sprackle only, or even a small magical item, 2% chance for the giant Sprackle only. Also, the treasure reflects the chance that they dwell in a ruin or similar place that may contain abandoned valuables. Ecology. Because of their sparks, Sprackles do most of their hunting in the daytime, while they are slightly less obvious. Glowing predators have a tendency to frighten off their prey. Lesser Sprackles are insectivores, preying chiefly on larger insects and arthropods such as butterflies, centipedes, moths, spiders, and dragonflies. Greater Sprackles are carnivores who more frequently dine on mice, rats, smaller birds, and sometimes giant insects such as giant dragonflies, robber flies, and giant centipedes and spiders. So, bug zapper birds. Yeah. And apparently they're an ecological menace. Yeah. Well, we're at... Because this was a double pager, we're a bit over what I would normally allocate for time for this. But that's fine. I don't mind. It's not like I'm rushing off to anywhere. But next time is the Black Ball. Look. Ooh. And the Blank Brain Collector. Those will be exciting. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like this content, I appreciate if you would give me a like, or, if you're new to this channel, a subscription if you like this content. And, if you make a comment, I'd appreciate it. But, you don't have to do anything. Your attention here was more than enough for me. You have a great day. Goodbye.